In this video, I'm going to show you how to make a Fortnite montage using Shotcut. It's in several parts, and the first part is how to add clips. Now it assumes you've already installed Shotcut, so when you bring it up, the first thing you want to do is make sure you're at the latest version. I'll leave a link in where to get Shotcut from in the description. So you need to select a projects folder, so I picked this one here, and then within the projects folder you can give your project a name. I'm going to put together some highlights from week 3 of chapter 3, season 3. I'm going to set my video mode to the one I prefer. It's 1440p, which isn't in the drop down here, so I've created a custom one, but you can set that from any of these defaults here. Let's click the start button, and then we're going to go over to the playlist here, and we're going to click on this icon to add the files we want to build our montage with. So I collect all my clips using NVIDIA highlights. You might use some different software, but the principle's the same. So I'm going to add all these clips that are organized in this folder, and you'll see now that Shotcut is slowly going through, adding them all into our playlist. You get information about the duration of the clip and the clip name, and you can also see when the clip was created. Okay, so let's add these other clips. So these are clips from Team Rumble. Process is the same. Okay, and there we go, and they're being added individually. Now when I put my montages together, I like to order them from the oldest to the newest. So I'm going to sort by date, and that's the order of my clips. If you double click on a clip in the playlist, it'll bring it up in the viewer. Selecting a different one, you get a different clip, and so on. Now drag the first clip down into the timeline. And Shotcut will automatically create a video track. You can use this slider here to expand and shrink the video track if you need a bit more detail. And as you can see, this clip is about 20 seconds long. What I'm going to do is I'm going to create a 5-second gap by dragging the clip to the right. And this is where I'm going to put a little intro in later. Now as I'm trying to put my highlight clips together, I want to find the point where I make an elimination, and then a few seconds after that I want to add the next clip. So what I'm doing here is I'm splitting the track at the playhead. That's just at the end of where the elimination text disappears. So now I'm going to pick my next clip. Now when I'm adding them together, I don't want a lot of the sort of previous play before the elimination to be included, because overall when you watch the final sort of montage it's a little dull. So I like to find a point that's a good start from an engagement perspective. So having looked through this whole clip again, I'm going to scroll up in the viewer to a point where I think it makes sense for the transition to the next clip, and I think here's good. So now I'm going to find the other end in a similar way. Just waiting for the elimination text to just visibly disappear, because I think that gives a good endpoint. Okay, there we are. Now I can drag this and drop it down into the timeline, and then you see the second clip is now added. So if I play the end of the first through to the beginning of the second, you can see we go from one clip to the next. Now you'll notice that that transition is pretty hard. So if I move the clip to the right over the clip to the left, we get this overlap section, which is actually a transition. And if we watch this, that's a pretty good transition. If you click on this area here and properties, you can see that this transition is a dissolve, and you have lots of different transitions you can pick from, and we'll come back to that in one of the other tutorials. Okay, so great. Now that I've added my second clip, I'm going to go to my third clip, and it's a similar process. I'm looking for a good starting point of when this clip sort of begins from the previous clip. So I'm going to look through, and then I'm going to use the bars here in the viewer to find that point. And I'm going to drop that down into the timeline, and then I'm going to merge it with the previous clip by 1 second. I typically use a whole second for a transition. I think that's a pretty good way. So let's just see what that looks like. And my second limb here, I'm going to wait until the text just disappears. And I'm going to split at the playhead again by right-clicking on the track in the timeline and selecting split at playhead, and then I can just delete it. So that's the process for putting all the clips together. And I'm going to continue with this through all these clips until I've got the whole timeline figured out. And we'll come back to the next part, which is how to remove voice.